So you're telling me we can raise our income 30 to 150% in just 3 moves? That's exactly what I'm telling you. We're about to get into it. And hopefully by now you've already made the first move. The first move is pick up another agent, pick up another agency. When you have somebody else working on your behalf, think about it like this. You hire somebody to go, the world's greatest fisherman. Let's say you hire the world's greatest fisherman and they're out there throwing that rod in and they're catching fish like crazy because they're the world's greatest. They bring you all the fish and you go, great, thanks so much. Here's your pay for the day. If you just hire a mediocre fisherman to also go out with that world's best fisherman, they're not going to catch as many fish, but they're going to catch one every, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 casts. They're going to catch a few more fish for you than you had from the world's greatest fisherman. So when you put them together to work for you, obviously you're going to end up with more fish. This is the idea. Pick up another agency, have somebody else going to bat for you to say, hey, this person would probably be a great fit for the project you're working on. And they're going to put you up to bat, and then it's your job to close the deal. But you want more at bats. And by getting another agency or picking up another agent, you're giving yourself that opportunity. That's the first move. We're going through 3 moves right here to raise your income. Move number 1, pick up more representation. Move number 2. Ooh, I love this one. So many people, however long you've been in business and operating as a model, you don't know your average rate. You don't know how much you make on average per booking. The first thing you need, stop this video right now. The first thing you need to know is what you typically get when you get work. Go and map out the last year or however long you've been modeling, however far you want to go back, but map out how many total shoots you've had, how much total money you've made, and divide the total money you made by the number of shoots you have your average pay per shoot. You need to know this number because we're about to mess with what I call the GOB. That's the get out of bed rate. You have to know how much your average is. And if you want to make more money, one of the quickest ways that you can make this shift, and this is exactly what I did, calculate my get out of bed rate. What is my average? I'm no longer getting out of bed for less than this amount. This, which has been my average, this average is now the bare minimum. That's the lowest I will get out of bed and go to work for. So you need to know your GOB number. This is people reaching out to you saying, hey, we want to do this project. If they're $10 below that GOB number, time to negotiate. If they're $2,000 below that number, time to negotiate. It's not a hard no if they don't meet your get out of bed number, but you need to know your number so that the moment people reach out, you know exactly what to do. You know what play to make from the algorithm of negotiation. What am I going to answer or respond to this with? You need to know that. So get your GOB number dialed, know how much you make on average, and set that as your new bare minimum. We're going to raise our rates. This is how we do it effectively by knowing what rate you've been getting out of bed for. And now you're going to know that confidently and change that. You're going to bump it up. You don't have to go crazy here. This is what's wild. That's been your average. Let's say you did 100 shoots and your average was, $100 per shoot, right? If that's been your average, then you probably had shoots that were $10 and you had some that were $300, whatever it may be. But now you no longer have anything less than that average. You're going to be getting paid so much more. It can be a wildly impactful thing to your life, to your experience on set, how much fun you have per shoot. When you're getting paid more to do a sucky job, it sucks a lot less than if you're getting paid pennies to do a sucky job. Now, you got to know it first, so calculate it. Then you got to grow it. This is where you go, okay, my average has been this. That's my new bare minimum. What do I want to raise it to? That's the hard part here. What do I raise it by 10%? Do I raise it by 50%? How much do I go up here? And what about the clients that I love to work with? It's going to be hard for me to ask for more for them and things like this. First, just know your number. Stop the video now, go calculate your number, come back and watch the rest of the video. Once you know your number, we got to grow your number. I suggest doing it 10%. Now, my birthday is in 2 days. One thing I gift myself on my birthday every year is I raise my rates and I just go 10%. I don't have to go crazy, but I know what my get out of bed number is. And when that GOB number is here and it goes up 10% every single year, and everybody expects it, then things get pretty good because 10% isn't that much, right? Somebody normally pays you $1,000 for a shoot and you say, hey, my rates, just want to give you a heads up, my rates are going up and here's what the new rates are, $1,100. They're like, oh, it's just $100 more. It's not that much when you're talking about $1,000. $100 booking, hey, it's $110 now. Not a big deal. It really isn't a big deal. And that's what's so cool about it, is that you do this year over year over year, and it just keeps getting sweeter. And then you can make big leaps if you want. It's totally up to you. I've had times where I said, hey, my rate's actually gone up to this, and threw a crazy number out there, and clients like, cool, we'll see you then. Here's your check. And I'm like, awesome. I mean, I literally had a shoot like that this week. And it's a client I've been working with for 5 years now, that it's like, they have no problem with it. I've helped their business grow tremendously. They see the value that I bring, and it's no problem. You're going to probably have some clients that are like, ew, no way, we're never working with you. And that's fine, because this is how word gets out. This is how people understand that your value, your rate, last year's rates are not this year's rates. So for my birthday, every year, I create a new rate sheet, and it goes up every year. Here's the new rates. Here's what it looks like if you want to book me. Now, a quick thing about this. Really poor business practice would be to just raise your rates. That would be bad. What would be really good is to reach out to your clients. If you have people that you work with directly and frequently and whatever it may be, it would be really good to reach out to them and give them a heads up and say, hey, I know we've worked together a bunch and typically we shoot these times a year and so on. I just want to give you a heads up. My rates are going up, and I'm doing my annual rate raise. Call it whatever you want to call it. But hey, just want to let you know my rates are going up, and I wanted to give you a heads up, because you've been such a wonderful client to work with, that if you have something you're thinking of booking later in the year, let's just get it on the calendar now at this current rate before my rates go up. So that way, they feel like, oh man, you gave them the VIP treatment, the insider info treatment, and you get to go, oh, Kurt, what I booked something like that just out of sending a message like that. I didn't even know they were wanting to shoot again. I didn't know when they were going to shoot. This is how you can start to generate your own income this way. Contact your clients. Hey, heads up, rates are going up. If you want to book, I'd love to get you on the calendar for this year at our current rate, and so be it. Now we bump our rates up 10%. Before we were getting out of bed for $500, and now my rate is $550, let's say, right? And what this does for you is it not only gives you the confidence that anytime somebody reaches out with an inquiry and interest in booking you, to say, oh, this is a for sure no, because this rate is trash. Or you can go, well, I know I need to negotiate with this. Let me negotiate with the rate. If they can meet it, then great, because you just want to keep your rates going up always. That's the big thing. What it also does is it proves to you that you are being more valuable in the marketplace. I can't tell a client, hey, I'm raising my rates, and they book me again, or they're like, okay, totally fine. Even if it's just 10%, which is nothing. If I say, hey, normally you book me for 500 and now it's 550, and they're like, no way, not a chance. If that's the case, you probably aren't providing enough value to the client. You probably aren't bringing enough to them for them to say, oh, wow, it's totally worth 550 over 500. If $50, when we're talking about $500, if $50 breaks the deal, you probably should look at what value you're actually bringing and figure out ways you can add more value to that. That's for a different video, but just understand that. Own it for yourself first if they're like, no, we can't do that. But then also realize that some clients just suck. Like, some people you don't want to work with. They're not for you. Leave them out there for somebody else to deal with, because you can lose 10% of your clients. If you raise your rates 10% and you know your GLB number, you're like, I replace that income, no problem. And now I don't have the stress of dealing with those clients. What a wonderful thing. Last part to raising your rate here, your GLB number, you have to commit to it. Do not let somebody tell you what your worth is, what your value is, or anything like this. You can ask them, hey, what is it about my increased rate that has you so scared? Why is it that $50 more is a deal breaker for you? What do you feel like you're losing, or what do you feel like you're missing out on? Or ask these questions. If they say, no way, I'm not going to deal with you at that rate, because you want that information. So A, you can process it for yourself and figure out how to combat it. If it's a quality of poses issue, if it's your timeliness or the value that you provide, find other ways to add value that cost you minimal resources like time or money. And then add that, throw that into the mix, give them a bonus. Hey, the shoot earlier this week, the client that I've been working with for 5+ years. Hey, I know you guys have me shooting basically 2 days this week, but one of them was outdoors and the weather just didn't really capture, like it got pretty crummy for what they wanted to capture at one point. And then I could see it in the client's face, and it's like, oh man, I was really hoping for kind of a more warm feel, a little sunny feel. And I can see this, and I'm like, okay, this is a moment that either I can say, well, book me again and I'll do another shoot that is going to cause you or cost you this rate. Or I could say, you know what? They've been really consistent for years now. And even though I keep performing and helping their business grow, I could probably throw a little freebie at them or something like this once every 7 shoots, because then they're going to see, oh man, the value of this person, and they really are bought into the growth of this, which I am. I want to see them thrive and succeed. So I say, hey, look, if you need some of those sunny shots, I'll just coordinate with you. We can pop out for a quick hour, snag some of those images. That way your big spring release looks a bit more spring like what you want to do. And they were pumped about this. Man, so appreciative. Thank you so much. Oh, can't wait. Yeah, absolutely. I'm throwing this in as a freebie, but it's easy to do this because I've raised my rates year over year over year with them. So I'm getting paid more already. So it's easy for me to say, oh, okay, yeah, I can go do a freebie for a client that has been a really consistent client, one that's great to work with. They're such a wonderful, wonderful client to work with that why wouldn't I do something like that once in a while? Makes everybody happy. They feel great. I already got paid for the 2 shoots this week anyway, so let me go throw a little bonus one in there. That's a great thing to do, but you have to commit to your rate. So even when I do that, I make it known that, hey, I know you wanted to capture that in this shoot, and we got a lot of good stuff in this one. I'm just going to throw a little freebie in there for you guys just this one time because I know you really wanted that thing. And I'm making it known this is an exception. This isn't something you guys could do all the time. I'm making the choice. Let's get out there. We'll get something for you. If they said, oh, hey, yeah, your new rates, we can't really do that, say totally fine. I totally get it. If there's anything I could do to help with you guys in the future or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I've loved working with you guys, and I totally get budgets are budgets, right? If you have more flexibility in your budget in the future, I would love to keep shooting with you guys. Stick to your raised rates. You have to stick to it. Once you raise that bad boy, going, oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll do it again at a lower rate. Oh yeah, we can. They're gonna keep dogging you and dogging you. You need to just stick to your guns. But this is why it's important to know what you've made, because that's the proof that you are worth that. If your average is $500 a shoot, mine, when I first did this calculation, I think my average shoot, I thought I was making more on average. I thought I was around like $700 on average for a shoot, but my average shoot was like $434. That was my average. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this means I've been taking shoots for 120, $150, right? And some of them some of them were like, hey, go in here for 2 hours and make $150. I'm like, okay, whatever. I have the time. It works out. Whatever your reasoning is, it doesn't matter. Once I know that number, that 450 or 440, 430, I think 434 was my, once I know that number, nothing less. That's what I'm showing up at. If you need me, if you're booking me, this is my rate. Now, if you break it down to an hourly amount, that's different too, because sometimes people do want to book an hour shoot or a 2 hour shoot. But this is why I have a half day rate and a full day rate. I don't do the, oh, let me pop in for an hour and all that stuff. Those days are gone. Know your rate, raise your rate, commit to that rate, and this is going to be absolutely game changing for you. I'm telling you right now. And you can choose if you want to do 10%, do 10%. That's just what I do consistently at minimum. Sometimes I'm like, I'm killing it and I'm offering a lot more to these clients now than I did last year or the years before. I'm raising my rate 30%. I'm raising my rate 40%. I've even raised my rate. Literally, I had one season that I raised my rate 100%, but that was just to kind of match where I was in the market, because I was getting paid a lot less than what I actually brought to the table, looking at all of the major campaigns and knowledge and everything that I'd gained through this time. But the market will tell you, people, if 90% of your clients say, no way, I'm not booking you at that, then you don't provide enough value for what you're charging. If you lose 10% of the clients, even 20% of the clients because you raised your rates, you're probably at a pretty good spot. That's a pretty good sweet spot. You're going to scare some away, but most of them are going to be like, yeah, no problem. And the ones that pay you, are going to cover the ones you lost and more. You're going to make more. You're going to work less. That's a fantastic thing. Whew. Lastly, so we had pick up another agency. If you have one agency and you pick up another agency, you just more or less just doubled your potential take on the fish, right? You hired that other fisherman. That's a one big move right there. Even if you didn't change your get out of bed rates, if they were the same rates, if I was still at that $434 per shoot rate, but I pick up another agency, now I'm earning a lot more in the year, assuming I'm not completely booked. My calendar isn't completely booked at the time that I do that calculation. So step one, hire another agency, get signed with another agency, get an agent, something like that, another one. Step two, understand it. Calculate your GOB number. This is the minimum amount I will get out of bed. You want me to get out of bed for how much? No. I'm gonna stay in bed. I'm not getting out of bed for that much. This is my rate. Calculate it, know it, raise it, and commit to it. The last step. These are, I'm telling you, the way that I went from earning this amount of money. I mean, I went from years that it was like, oh, my first couple years modeling, I think I made like 12 grand the first year. It was like a partial year. And then the first full year was like 20, 21, $22,000. That's what I made. I went from doing that to doing six figures like that when I made these moves. Picked up another agent, raised my rates, understood my get out of bed number, and committed to that. And then the last thing is try to pick up new clients. If your rate is raised, you have another agent working for you and you're pushing all this out there, and then you can find a couple new clients, even just 10%. You know, if you do 100 shoots a year, just find 10 new clients this year, the whole year. That's it. If you do this and you just go 10%, 10%, you're going to raise, you do the math. Depending on how many agencies you have. If you only have one and you pick up one agency, you're already more or less doubling your income if they have the same functionality, same operational booking rate. But then if you raise your rate just 10% from there, that's more like raising it 20% because you have that second agency. So now we're up 120%. And then you throw in another 10% on top of that for 10% more clients or new clients. And it just, you see how crazy the math can get. This is how I went from 12 grand the first year, 21, I think 21,000 bucks the second year I was modeling, up to going, okay, I'm making six figures doing this now. It's not by just showing up and shooting. It's not by, you have to understand these skills and you have to understand your numbers in order to give the business the love that it needs. You have to know this stuff because somebody else does, somebody else is earning it, and there's somebody else charging, even what I charge right now, there's somebody else charging easily double, triple, quadruple what I charge. But they're probably providing that amount of value to their clients. So that's the thing. You have to be able to provide value to people. The way you do that, develop your skills, develop your knowledge, get after it, and give it all kinds of love. This is it. These are the big plays. I'm telling you, these are the big plays that have completely changed the income game for me in this modeling world. You absolutely have this in your tank, in your wheelhouse. Maybe right now isn't the specific time for you to do it, but if you're watching this video, it's time to start thinking about it. And it's time to track your numbers at bare minimum. Know your get out of bed rate. Know your average right now on a per shoot basis. And if you want to break it down on a per hour basis, go for it. But per shoot basis, at least know that number. Once you have that stuff, the rest is in your hands. On to bigger, better business. Here we go, baby. Let's keep growing. I'll see you on set.